Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, I am joined by shaman and newly published author as well as mother, Kerry Blaser. Kerry had a hard life coming up, but she made it through. She's got her degree and she's doing everything she wants now, has 3 beautiful kids, and now she's a new published author. So we're going to be talking to her about her life and everything that she's up to, her book, and everything that she's going to be up to. So, Kerry, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to chit chat about, my life and how my healing wisdom can help others.
Why don't you start by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm 55 now. I was born in Scottsdale, Arizona. Before I turned one, my family moved. I have an older brother to southern France in Toulouse for 2 years, and then we spent about a year and a half in Geneva, and then we moved to Southern California. My parents got divorced when I was 6, and so I had a hard life. My mom was alcoholic and my dad was a workaholic. And but I got a job at 14 at Hot Dog on a Stick, and I made the best of it. And I bought a car at 16 and went to college at 18. And I ended up getting a degree in Chinese and religious studies, and I studied abroad in China. I met my ex-husband in Tibet in 1993, and he's from Israel. And we got married in 95, and he got his degree, and I got my master's degree, and we had 3 beautiful children. And the marriage ended 10 years later, and that was when I was 35, 20 years ago. And then things got rough in my 40s, and my mom passed away on my 45th birthday. But she was, she had a difficult life. And so, but that was her soul's way of celebrating how close we were, that we have my birthday together, of course, and then now her death day is my birthday. And that was the day my intuition told me that I needed to accept my psychic gifts and I needed to heal from my childhood trauma. And that's kind of what brought me to starting to write my book.
Okay, well, tell the listeners what you do as a shaman and what a shaman is for those who might not be aware.
Oh, cool. Okay. So what a shaman is my soul has downloaded and kind of unveiled more capabilities to interact and talk to other souls. So how does that happen? Now we know, because physicists can measure that each human has an energy body. And all those energy bodies are constantly talking to each other through our heart spaces. And here's a kind of fun example of how that works. There's like countless videos of dogs getting super excited about 1 or 2 minutes before their owner gets home. And how does that happen, right? Well, that happens by the dog's soul and the owner's soul communicating through their heart space, and the dog is super intuitive. And so it knows, oh, yay, they're almost home. We're humans, we're still working on it. Another example is you'll see bears climb a tree a day before a Cat 5 hurricane hits in Florida, where humans were still in our houses by the ocean, because they listen to their souls, their intuition. So as a shaman, I communicate other souls and I help them self-reflect. I help them receive more energy, more loving energy into their soul, help them turn their self-hate into self-love. I say that is, one of the biggest things that shamans do. That's our job, to help people turn self-hate to self-love. And here's one way where psychologists or shamans are really aligning with some old shamanic wisdom. And it used to be when if someone would come to a shaman and they have, anxiety or depression, the shaman would ask, when's the last time you danced? When's the last time you sang? When's the last time you hugged a tree? When's the last time you walked barefoot in nature? And now we have, therapists worldwide prescribing walking in nature, and it helps anxiety and depression. There's tons of studies on it now. So I think shamans and psychologists have a lot more in common, I think, than people really realize.
Well, speaking of self-love, talk about how and why you say that self-love creates heaven on earth.
Oh, well, thank you. So I would say physically, I live in heaven on earth. I live on the beach in Southern California. It is beautiful. Where do my challenges come from? My relationships. And so tying that back to self-love. Um, see, where do I start with that? So our souls are energy bodies, like I said, and our souls communicate through emotions, and they can measure the energy body in the emotions. So shame vibrates at like 20 hertz, where courage is about 200 hertz, love is about 500 hertz, and enlightenment, which is emotion, is 700 to 1,000 hertz. So our souls, our energy bodies, communicate through our hearts, and our hearts, the nervous system in our hearts is far more complex than our brains, and our hearts send far more signals to our brains than the other way around. So who's really in control is our hearts, and that's, where love, self-love or self-hate exists. So if we want our heart to send, gratitude and compassion and love signals, it's got to be in our souls first. But if we spend the majority of our days in shame, guilt, and fear, which so many people do, which I did for most of my life, I had 35 years of debilitating lower back pain because I did not know how to transform self-hate into self-love. I mean, it sounds simple, but it's not. That's why I developed my healing techniques. So, and like if you go to my website, there's a 6 divine feminine self-love techniques. So, but that is the reason. So when we love ourselves, we emit love outwards. And then since the universe is a mirror, we even have like mirror neurons and the laws of physics to support this. When I put love out, what is mirrored back to me is love. It's like the universe is a constant feedback loop. If I attract a lot of hate into my life, that is my soul showing me how much I hate myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And while you're at it, you talked about your 6 divine feminine self-love techniques. So go through them and talk about why you created them.
Oh, okay. Well, I published my book in April, but since then I've wanted to create a more kind of concise explanation of the healing wisdom. And so I did that. I was able to do that last month in September. So the first one is called Appreciate, Learn, Forgive equals ego death. So we start with gratitude. We start with appreciation, and why? Because appreciation, gratitude, that's in the heart. It's a heart opener. If you want to change yourself, you have to change your heart, because the mind is following the heart and not the other way around, which a lot of people have that confused, but our neurology is clear. So, and gratitude opens your heart to surrendering to your emotional pain, surrender to your challenge, surrender to the self-reflection. Lay in a chair, relax, have some tea and go, okay, what do I need to learn here? Right. But you have to surrender first. And the gratitude, like if you're, running around during the day, fight or flight, your heart is not open literally and kind of emotionally and physically, because all of your blood is in your limbs, so your heart's more contracted. But when you relax your arms and your legs, then your heart opens and your heart is pumping far more blood, fueling this healing process. So then it's once your heart is open, it's time to self-reflect. And you can ask yourself any number of questions about why you attracted this experience into our lives, because our souls plan our lives based on our wounds for self-improvement opportunities. So, you know, if you take on a really deep wound, then you'll get an equal amount of wisdom. Like this lifetime, I wanted an Mount Everest size amount of wisdom. So, okay, fair is fair. I had to take on a Mount Everest size wound, which I did. And I go over that on my origin story on my website. So I asked myself, okay, well, why was this event necessary in my life? What am I meant to learn? What is the wisdom inside of my wound? And in my book and on the website, there's far more questions, to help you do that process. And what I realized is this is the process I just saw myself going through naturally. And because I helped two Fire Academy instructors, I was really focused on how can I describe my process simply so that they can talk about it in the back of a fire truck? Like I was really focused on helping first responders with these more kind of more easily explained techniques for transforming self-hate to self-love. So once I found the wisdom inside the wound, like here's one example. The wound was fear all men. It was deep in my heart from my childhood. Once I saw the wound, the wisdom appeared. Men protect me. Sure, fear some men, but not all men. And then the next day, I went out in public with my daughter, and I was like a new person. Like anxiety was just gone. And my daughter noticed immediately. I mean, that's how quick when you find the wisdom in the wound. Now, you might need to hold the wound for 20 years until you're ready to find the wisdom. I had 35 years of debilitating lower back pain. So the pain is an initiation process so you can appreciate the wisdom that you learned. So that's appreciate, learn, forgive. And once you find the wisdom, the forgiveness just flows. And that's what people seek is ego death, is the death of shame, guilt, and fear, that part of our ego, of our soul. So that's the first one. The second one is called love hierarchy. And it shows you in what order to love yourself and others so that you can have an overflowing cup of love. So you're always ready to pay it forward. Okay. So the first one is self-love. And what does that mean? That means eating properly, sleeping properly, taking vacations as necessary, and really saying no properly, having healthy boundaries, not just freely, not, putting other people's wants before your own needs, not being codependent. Stop the people pleasing, stop the fawning, and turn all of that into yourself. If you say, I need help, and you're seeking it from somebody else, you need to give it to yourself first. What you project onto others is really what you need to give yourself, because the universe is a mirror. So we start with self-love and then partner love, if you have a partner. And then you're creating a really healthy bond and relationship, masculine, feminine relationship, so that when you have children, the children are protected by the people, the mother and father self-love, and then the couples love together. It's like two layers of protection. And then you can move on to your family members. And then number 5 is community. Now, what I saw myself doing when I was, acting from my wounds, from my fear, guilt, and shame, I would put community before myself. So that by the time I got to myself, there was just nothing left. So I realized that when I act from a wound, I act from inverted wisdom. Like fear all men is inverted wisdom. Wisdom is men protect me. Okay. And since my soul plans my life based on my wounds, when I have a wound, fear all men, I attract fear all men experiences to show me I have the wound. Okay. So that's, I think, a perspective that isn't really prevalent in society, that we attract experiences into our life to show us our souls, show us the wounds and the wisdom and the knowledge inside of our souls so that we can change self-hate to self-love. And that's why we're here. So that's love hierarchy. And then is learn to surf the waves of life. And there's a physics experiment in there and a video of it, so you can watch it. And it's 2 balls and 2 tracks. And one track is slightly downhill, and one track has hills and valleys. And so I asked the question, which ball do you think reach, and they're on the tracks the same length, but with the hills and valleys, the distance traveled is technically longer. Which ball do you think reaches the finish line first?
Let's take a quick break.
Okay, everybody, it's Michael E. Cullen II.
And I'm Sesame and Carta from the All Too Real 2 podcast. We're passionate about movies, TV, and pretty much all things pop culture.
Dive into the chaos of failed sitcoms, direct-to-video sequels, and the quirky realms of cinema and TV.
Join us every Thursday for your dose of All Too Real 2 entertainment.
We'll guide you through debates like whether Howard the Duck qualifies as a superhero.
Ponder if Larry the Cable Guy could be the new Rock or Schwarzenegger.
Discover if some shows and movies should have stayed in the cutting room.
Ever heard of a sitcom featuring that dictator with the funny mustache? Well, we watched it.
We're dedicated to unraveling the peculiarities of pop culture, sometimes with awesome guests.
So, if you're into the eccentric world of pop culture,
listen and subscribe to All Too Real 2.
Available wherever you find podcasts
and on Age of Radio.
Okay, well, let's talk about how you say that the perception of God as a male contributed to the breakdown of the nuclear family. Because, those of us that believe in the Bible, it says that he sent his only son, and, God the Father. So explain that to us.
Well, that I would say is a much longer story. So on my website, in the origin story, you can see that there's a lot of signs and synchronicities that my soul is the same soul as Mary Magdalene. And I can't say, there's not an objective truth to that. So, but based on the way my life, the events in my life and the way my soul has planned my life, that's what I've been shown. And my first enlightenment experience is when I was shown the challenges we've created by perceiving God to be male only. And what happened was I sat in my recliner on a Tuesday in March of 2024. And this is during there's 6 men in my life that I wrote in my book I had personal relationships with, but I never went on a date with. So the number 5 is a fire captain. So I was still interacting with him in March of 2024. And so I came home and I sat in my recliner, and I had been laid off several months earlier. So I was on severance. I wasn't working. And my energy started to increase. I was having my first enlightenment experience, but I only figured that out the next morning when I hadn't slept all night and I couldn't eat, barely drank, and I'm just vibrating really high, like zzz, and I heard like an alarm in my head, enlightenment, enlightenment, enlightenment. Like I had reached the enlightenment level. And at that point, I didn't understand the energy body, and how it vibrates different frequencies. I didn't understand yet. So I was just having the experience. I learned that later. And right after that, I was guided to ask the universe, where do I need to heal? And so first I was shown the first responders and their mental health crisis. I'm like, okay, well, that's a bunch of problems. And then the family, okay, well, massive divorce rate, lots of problems. Okay, relationship, problems. I'm like, okay, just take me back to the beginning. There was God, and then what happened? Because I'm like, everything is messed up. So I got to go back to the beginning. I'm an analyst. I did risk and issue assessment, at like 20 years at an insurance company. That's my jam. That's my kind of specialty. So I'm like, okay, well, God is male. So what does God do? Okay, God creates and God orchestrates. I'm like, hang on a second. Creation is feminine. That's a right-brained activity. Orchestration is masculine. I'm like, there's the imbalance that was created. I'm like, there's the imbalance. So when we put men before women, then women don't value being the center of the home, which is the exact experience we're having right now. I mean, I was raised in a secular family. And so it was all go to college, get a job, fend for yourself. There was no celebration of a feminine woman in the home, which is so prevalent today. But if men are more important than women, then why celebrate women being the center of the home? And this is people still say women are not equal. This is the inequality that I saw. So I saw it in this enlightenment experience, and then I started doing a lot of research. At that point, I didn't have all the signs and synchronicities that my soul was the same soul as Mary Magdalene. I only figured that out this year in the past few months. So I had that enlightenment experience. And then, I was already focused on problems in the family because I got a divorce and I had to work and I had, 4 to 7 migraines per week. I mean, I went through it. I had a suicide attempt, like being working in college and kids. Like, I'm like, why are we here for this? Like, this is not happiness. Like, this is not heaven on earth. These are all like, this is my hell on earth. I live on heaven on earth, but these relationships and no time for me and no time for my kids, this is the hell on earth. So that's why I say that. And so if, we value a divine feminine as equal to divine masculine, and we model that in the home, then women feel value to be the center of a home and value being the emotional center and going through the challenges of turning self-hate into self-love for the whole family. So many women today aren't having kids. We're 20 years from population collapse. That's a serious hate on our feminine nature. Women don't even, you ask them, well, what's your role in society? Oh, I'm pretty. None of them go to, I need to have kids, because they hate their femininity so much. And why? It's a worldview that we have to change to move forward and, have a healthier, more grounded society with a healthy, balanced nuclear family being the goal.
Okay, well, tell the listeners about your book. Tell us what we can expect when we read it and where to get it.
Yeah. Oh, my book is so it starts, the first couple of paragraphs are about my mom passing away on my 45th birthday. And I quickly go to 6.5 years ago when I attempted suicide. And then that was when I kind of came back, Kerry 2.0, and I was climbing my ladder of self-belief, I say. And you'll see it was like one self-belief after another. And that's what I chronicle in the book until I meet my first hero. And I call them my hero because they mirrored my wounds back to me so I could improve and gave me opportunities to bring out my shamanic gifts to help myself and everyone else heal and have my enlightenment experiences. So, yeah, you can find the book on Amazon, and it's My Inner Heroine, Exploring Feminine Pain.
Well, tell us about any upcoming projects that you're working on that listeners need to be aware of.
So I'm right now, I just scheduled an interview with BBC about a Wisdom of Peace plan that I have. And today I realized that my ex-husband's Israeli, so my kids are half Israeli, so I'm very connected to Israel. I met him in Tibet in 93. And like I said that before. It's Yitzhak Rabin, the Prime Minister of Israel, who was assassinated on November 4th, 1995. It's a 30th anniversary. And I've been developing this Wisdom of Peace plan for the past few weeks. And so today I saw that. I was like, okay, well, this is in honor of that just event that tore Israelis' hearts to the core of the core of the core, like it was just decimated the Israeli people. So I just, and my perspective on how if we all accept that the universe is a mirror showing us our wounds, and that when we have hate in our lives, which Israelis really do, they attract a lot of hate into Israel, right? Why are they attracting so much hate? They have an equal amount of self-hate in their hearts. And so the collective of souls on earth together is mirroring that back to them through all their challenges. So I'm bringing that message to the world. And so if Israel can, self-reflect and change the self-hate in their heart to self-love, then maybe you can get Americans to step in and stop the lobbyists in AIPAC, AIPAC, which is a Jewish lobby, the strongest lobby, and does a lot of it creates a lot of challenges. Then maybe you can get Islam to take out of their text, kill all Jews, because Islam has been living next to the Jews for, 1,500 years. So they understand that, no one's perfect. And, maybe they have a point if ruling class Jews weren't treating them properly. How are we going to get this war to really stop? These events need to happen. And then what I saw, because I have a master's degree in Chinese, China needs to be involved. And what I didn't remember at the moment is that when I met my ex-husband in Tibet, which is China, he had just come from Beijing. And he was there when Itzhak Rabin made the historic meeting with China to establish a relationship between China and Israel. So there were like Israeli and Chinese flags all around Tiananmen Square, and he has personal pictures of that. And I met him 2 weeks later. So that's where I connected Itzhak Rabin. And then I looked up, I'm like, oh, he was a 30 years. I just, putting all the pieces together. But bring China to the table, then we can truly have a chance. If we get those four concessions, then that would just foster an environment of more concessions of people, of countries and people admitting how much they need to change to contribute to world peace.
But throw out your contact info so people can keep up with everything that you're up to.
I'm at www.kerryblaser.com, and you can email me there, support@kerryblaser.com. There's a contact form there as well.
Close us out with some final thoughts. Maybe if there was something I forgot to talk about that you would like to touch on, or any final thoughts you have for the listeners.
Oh, thank you. No, I just encourage people to go to my website and click on Second Coming. And then in the second half of that page are the 6 divine feminine self-love strategies. So there's 3 more there for you to read through. And when something's true, it's true in multiple places. So I have the wisdom and the knowledge there. So I have the wisdom and the laws of physics, science, the neurology, and to explain it in clear, simple terms to help everyone self-reflect and create a healthier, happier heart and family for the holiday season. Like, we're close to the holidays.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, visit kerryblaser.com for more information on Kerry. Check out her book and everything that she's up to. Follow, rate, review, share this episode to as many people as possible. Follow us on your favorite podcast platform. And for more information on the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, to leave feedback or suggestions, or if you'd like to be a guest yourself, visit www.curveball337.com. Thank you for listening and supporting the show. And Kerry, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
For more information on the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, visit www.curveball337.com. Until next time, keep living the dream.